Hey, you guys, today we are talking to an amazing woman, Sophia Olivas. We have a really good time in this conversation. So even if you don't want to hear about crypto and blockchain technology, which is what we talk about, and really getting into some of the different ways and how different ways that this technology is going to really impact our lives. If you don't care about that, listen to it because we have a lot of fun on this in this conversation. Sophia is also using, after she explains a lot about the new technology, not necessarily so new anymore, but kind of lays it out so that it's understandable. She starts talking to us about her real estate ventures, especially her EverSmart city that it's actually pretty exciting. They're building a city using that is backed completely by blockchain technology. I don't know if I said that correct. Sorry, Sophia, if I didn't. But you guys, listen to this episode. This one's really fun. I had a really, really good time talking to Sophia. You'll love her. Enjoy.
Be the change you want to see. Make a difference by giving your money a purpose, a mission to do good. Welcome to Money with Mission, where we show you how to create passive income so that you have options for how to work and how to live your life while leaving a legacy of positive social impact.
Sophia, thank you so much for coming on. I'm so excited to talk to you today about something I know a little bit about, but not enough to have a conversation. I need to know a lot more.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And I love sharing, especially in the space of women, and love sharing this new technology. It's truly a pathway where women can, sky's the limit. There's no glass ceiling. There's no gender bias in the blockchain technology. Most of the time, they don't know if you're male or female. There's no credit score. There's no, none of that stuff exists.
Wow.
So I'm happy to share it with your listeners.
Do you remember when Apple first came out with their credit card and it came out that they were discriminating to women on that credit card? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And I actually got declined. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then sometime later, I don't know if they sent me something that says,
oh, came out
considered or what. I don't know.
I got declined for it too. And I remember thinking, do they know who I am?
Exactly. I know. I was like, what?
What was that about? Yeah. And then just being dismissive of it and then just going on until I had heard later on. I was like, oh, really?
Me too.
Yeah.
So tell us, how did you get involved in this space, in the crypto blockchain? And we're going to explain the difference between Sophia is going to explain the difference between crypto and blockchain in a little while. But I just want to, how did you get here? How did you get into all this at all?
Yeah, for me, it was pretty much survival and necessity. So I'll take you guys a little bit back more in my history so you can kind of get, a sense of my origin story. So at 14, I chose homelessness and hunger over what I was experiencing at home. So I left home at a very young age. And, so I didn't have the luxury of having a typical teenagehood where, you're going to prom and Friday night football games and all that. I was trying to figure out where I was going to live and how I was going to eat. Yeah. So I was, very quickly engrossed in the world of business and I had to forge my own path at an early age. I had to get a fake ID because you couldn't even work at 14, right? I don't know what the rules are now, but back then it was illegal and there was all these rules. And so I had to use a fake ID.
Were you in the US, Sophia, when this was going on? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And so I had to figure out ways to generate income and generate a living and stuff. And then right after my 18th birthday, I flipped my first property and I used that money to start my first tech company. And this is back in the early 90s, ladies. So this internet thing, I was like, this thing is going to catch on. So I started working in the, in the internet world and doing web page developments. Then I started traveling the world and I would walk up to really fancy smancy hotels or B&Bs, and I would say, I was trying to find you guys online, but I just to book and see if I could get a reservation. And they would always say, because I was always check ahead of time, oh yeah, we don't know how to get online. We don't know how to do that. And I'd be like, oh, well, for $50,000 in your best room for 2 weeks, I'll do it for you. So that's how I got into it. And it was always cutting edge technology back then, right? Because it was dial up, and then I was abroad, so it was even worse. Like it was fun. And then I was at the beginning of that, and I just always shifted into the next new thing because I was like riding the wave to begin with. And when blockchain came about, I was already speaking and teaching women and working like with the United Nations and speaking at their events and stuff about women's financial sovereignty and solvency. Like for me, I have it that when women are financially sovereign, the world rights itself. Like there's just proof that like the whole community rises. Like when women are given money, the whole community rises because we're very collaborative in nature. And also when women are financially solvent, they go further in their education. They have kids later in life. They have fewer kids. They choose better domestic partners, and they take better care of their physical and mental health. So right there, when you focus on the women, the world just writes itself because they're the ones that, have the children. So they give birth to the future. And then most of the time they're the caretakers, right? Even when they're CEOs of companies and whatnot, and esteemed doctors and whatnot, they're still the ones that are caretaking the kids. So they're the ones that shape the future. So when blockchain came about and I saw all those things I told you about, how there was no glass ceiling and all this stuff, I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is there's no excuses for women now. So I got into the space, and then I just surrounded myself, went to all the experts and just dove into it with them. And, like there's no place to learn this. You couldn't go to college. Even now, they can't formulate curriculums because it's moving so fast. The technology is moving so fast. If they were to make a curriculum, it would be so outdated by the time you graduated.
By the time it got probably.
Yeah, you've got to just go jump in the trenches and just go with it. So I'm going to
stop you. I'm going to stop you because I know there's some holes in the story that people are going to try to go, what? From 14? So let's go back to that.
Sure.
Real quick. And just get me, because you think about 14-year-olds today, and I even think about 14-year-olds. I think about when I was 14, I would have never thought of anything like that. Now, granted, I didn't have to make sure I could survive by making sure I had food, but we all can probably figure out, we hear about a 14-year-old girl on the street and we don't think she's going to flip a house and become the person that you've become. We're more worried about her becoming a prostitute, ending up with a bunch of kids already, and all that kind of stuff. How did you escape that?
Yeah. So I made a choice. I made a choice at 8 years old, and then I stuck to it for sure at 14, that I was going to make something of myself and that I was going to be happy, that I was going to get myself out of this situation the minute I got out, that I was going to be happy and successful. So the first thing I did was surround myself with mentors. Okay. Because at 14, because of the system, because you can't legally work, there was very few options for me. And, I was in LA, it was like horrible. And I got out of there and then went to Portland, but to be a young female, it's super dangerous and challenging. And I've just, to this day, I still have mentors. So and one of my mentors gave me the book, Think and Grow Rich. It was probably one of my first books that I got of that type of quality back when I was 14. And I also had been around different type of self-help and development groups like Landmark Education way back when. So I had all these people that came from, purposeful thinking, manifesting, like things like that. Okay. And I had a hunger. Yeah. I absolutely had a desire and a hunger to thrive, not just survive my circumstances, but to thrive.
Okay.
So sheer willpower.
Okay. So you flipped your house, you then started traveling, and you learned internet, you learned web design, you learned all these things that could make money for you. And you had the audacity and courage and braveness and all of that to go to people and say, hey, and ask for money, what you felt you were worth, and a place to stay to help you build your abilities to continue to do what you want to do. You built your financial ability. I don't mean your knowledge base, because you were doing that in different ways, but your financial ability to keep going. All right. Then you talked all about blockchain and cryptocurrency, and you learned about that and how there's none of the things that traditional finance models impose upon women that make us substandard almost because of what the way it's set up, the patriarchy, the way it's set up. And don't take that the wrong way, anybody, please, because I'm not against guys at all, but we have to admit that's the way our system's set up. Okay. Whew, that was a ride. Okay. Now we're talking about blockchain. We're talking about cryptocurrency. What's the difference? Let's start with basic definitions. Cryptocurrency.
Yeah, and I love that you start with vocabulary because that's really important. Because a lot of people start using words and they use it synonymously, and they actually do have meaning, like they're different things. So blockchain is the first word to start off with. So blockchain is the foundation of all the other things that we're going to talk about, like crypto, NFTs, Metaverse, Web3, all built on blockchain. Okay. So blockchain, if you're like PC or Mac, blockchain would be like your operating system. That's what blockchain is. So, and all blockchain is a public record of transactions going, back and forth. So you're just basically, if you were to look at your online banking, that would be like a type of blockchain, right? Because you're seeing transactions going in and out. That's really what the blockchain is. But it's a public thing that anybody can look at anytime, and everybody can see what everybody's doing. So that's one of the great things about it is transparency. Another great thing about the blockchain is that it's immutable, can't be changed or altered. So it's a trustless system. Okay. Because I don't have to know you. If you're on the block, if you're working on the blockchain, then I can trust the block. Like I don't need to know you or trust you because I can see what you're doing and what you're not doing and all that jazz. It's also it's decentralized, and that's probably a word that everybody's been hearing, but they're like, what does that mean? So it exists in the ethers, right? In the cloud and the internet. So that means it exists on all of our computers. So because it exists all places all at once, it's unhackable. And when we say unhackable, we should just really, with our current technology, it can't be hacked because you'd have to hack everybody's computer all at once. Okay. We just don't have the capability. Now, when we get into quantum computers later on, that's a different conversation. But right now, it's just integrous because it can't be altered, can't be hacked. So that would be the blockchain. And then, just like your operating system in your computer, you can build apps. And you have to have the operating system to work the apps. Like, for instance, if you're on Mac, you could use Safari or Explorer, right? Or Chrome. Yeah. But you can use any of those, but you have to have your operating system to make the computer work so you can use those apps. So that's what blockchain is. It's like the foundation. And then crypto would be one of the apps that gets built on blockchain. But crypto is not blockchain. They're separate. It's just built upon blockchain technology. So cryptocurrency is one of the two types of currencies there are in the world. So there's only two: fiat, which would be like the dollar, the yen, the euro, things like that, and then digital currency. Now, people get flustered. They can get flustered when they think about crypto and it's make believe and all that. Well, you've been using digital currency for at least 20 years if you've been using a debit card or a credit card. So surprise, you've been using digital currency for a lot longer. Yes. Cryptocurrency is just another one of those digital currencies. And Bitcoin happens to be one of the first cryptocurrencies that was created. Okay. And so, but Bitcoin is not crypto, it's a cryptocurrency.
Bitcoin is not crypto, it is a cryptocurrency. Got it.
Yeah, just like dollar is not only what money is. It is, it's not only what currency is, right? Or fiat. It's a type of currency.
Got it. So if I'm sitting here, so the one thing that was going to my mind was, okay, I understand it's an operating system, basically, blockchain. Got it. Yeah. How do I get there? How do I buy my computer and all the operating system is already there? Is blockchain on my computer too, or is that somewhere else? How does?
Well, it's on the internet and you can access it anytime. So you just go to the Google and just type in, I want to see the blockchain, and you just download a blockchain explorer to look at it.
Oh, okay.
So I want to look at the public blockchain, and then boom, you just go look at it.
So now that the blockchain was invented, and is that the right word? Invented? Discovered? How is it
I mean, just the same thing as like the internet was
developed?
somehow
Developed.
created,
Okay.
developed. Yeah.
Okay. And then crypto is an app. And then all the other things that are happening around blockchain are just more apps on like crypto. Got it.
Right. It's like NFTs. That's another type of application built on blockchain technology. Metaverse.
What does NFT stand for? Just so we don't leave anybody behind.
I mean, I'll tell you what it stands for, but that's not, who cares? Because nobody's going to say that word. What you need to know is what it means.
Gotcha.
So it stands for non-fungible token, but nobody's going to say that. What it means is proof of ownership. That is all it means. So anything that can be sold can be an NFT. The lamp behind you, your earphones, your glasses, your clothes, your home, your car, a book, art. Most people only hear about NFTs as art, but that's just collectibles. That's one small percentage. But everything is going to be shifting towards NFTs because you have provenance, right? It's proof of ownership. So let me give you an example. Katrina. Is it the ninth ward, I believe, that's still decimated down there. The reason why it has been so challenging to rebuild that area is because everybody's record keeping at the time was physical copies of things. So when water came in and like pretty much gutted their house, all the papers were lost and they had no way to prove that they owned those properties. So they couldn't get insurance. They couldn't get any FEMA relief. And like they can't even rebuild because nobody can lay claim to owning those properties. So if they were on the blockchain, you would have absolute instantaneous proof. And you could get all those resources like immediately. You could bypass the government being shut down from COVID and their hours and blah, 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 blah. It would just be instantaneous. And we can see it with refugees now, especially with the refugees in Ukraine getting their stuff documented on the blockchain because they had to flee. They don't have their passports with them. So they were able to get their identification put onto the blockchain to absolutely prove, and that can take your fingerprints, your facial recognition, your pictures, like all of that. In case, you're injured and stuff, you can still have proof that that's you. And so they're able to get funds and get situated into other areas, being able to identify who they are.
So, okay, back to NFT. An NFT is proof of ownership. And you said
correct.
Anything can be an NFT or anything can have
anything that can be sold. Anything that can be sold can be an NFT.
Can be an NFT. So I sell my glasses to you. Now my glasses, tell me how that. So now somebody comes to you and says, hey, those aren't your glasses. How does that go?
Yeah. So So I think it'd be better to do it as a house. Let's do it as a house because I think everybody can relate to that a lot better. So when you get a house, you have ownership of it. And how do you prove it? You have like a title, right? So if your title was on the blockchain and it couldn't be altered and it couldn't be hacked, then everybody would know without question, oh, you own that house.
Right.
It's that simple.
The title is the NFT or the house is the NFT. The title is.
No, the ownership to the house, you owning the house. The house is an NFT because you own the house.
Right.
And it just shows proof of ownership. But it's just a digital representation. So it's not like you take the house and make it digital. You could make a picture of it and make that the NFT.
I understand that. So I'm thinking along the lines because we've had this conversation before, and you said a car title, like, oh, okay, I get it. So instead of having to go and freaking find my car title when I want to sell my car, I can go to my digital wallet and that's where we store our things. So I have my own wallet that has my stuff in it, and I pull up my NFT that says that I own this car. Is that what I'm getting at?
Yeah,
okay.
And it'll have the VIN number, and you're good to go.
Got it.
You guys make a model and all that.
You got that?
Huh?
I'm just asking everybody else. You got that?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. This is the way that everything is going to be moving. Like the DMV, the motor vehicle department's already moving in that way. The title companies are already looking like that. Like title companies are going to become obsolete. There's no purpose for them, going forward. And they really need to pivot.
Yeah.
They could really benefit from pivoting now while they have a little bit of lead time.
And the proof that blockchain is not hackable, because that's where everybody's going to be afraid. That's why everybody's afraid now with the internet that somebody's going to get my stuff. How is that proven?
Yeah, so several ways. So first of all, the blockchain, the public blockchain exists again on every single person's computer, meaning like it's everywhere. And its encryption is, above military grade. It's phenomenal, the encryption. So it just can't be hacked with our current technology because everybody's computer would have to be hacked all at once.
Okay.
And you just can't do that.
Yeah.
There's no central point. Like the reason why Wells Fargo, and we always have to like have protection on our data right now, is because Wells Fargo gets hacked every other year, right?
Yeah.
Because they're centralized. There's one server that has everybody's information that they access, and then whoop, there goes. But this exists everywhere. So they would have to hack everything all at once. And it's just not possible with current technology.
Got it. So what can we have now of the stuff that we own? So like you talked about Katrina and the people that lost all their things. If they're rebuilding and can get all their stuff, are they able to do that now to get their stuff on blockchain?
Well, they have a challenge because they have to have it first to prove it. And that's where they're at. Now, if they would have had it on blockchain when Katrina happened, no issues.
So let's think about someplace where hurricanes can happen. If they're worried that their house is going to blow away because of a hurricane's going to come by, they have the ability right now to do this so that they could be in some place where they're safe and go to the blockchain on their computer and pull out their wallet and show all their stuff.
Exactly. They can do what's called mint and NFT. But right now, the title companies, you have to register your title. But back, a lot of these people, they were given their property like 100 years ago when there wasn't title departments. So that's what that issue is. Yeah. Right now we have redundant systems that help us. But that's going to become obsolete because you're right. It's so much faster to be like, when the police officer asks you for your title and registration, you just like, here you go. You just hand them your phone.
Yeah.
It's quicker and easier.
Okay. All right. So thank you very much. The light bulb is getting a little bit brighter.
Good.
Okay. So you've mentioned Metaverse. You've thrown out some other terms. And I can't even remember them all, but Metaverse was one. What is that?
Yeah. That's one of my favorite ones coming up now. So the Metaverse, which really what they mean by that is the virtual worlds. Okay. So there's all these virtual worlds. So like there's like 19,000 plus cryptocurrencies, and like anybody can really make a cryptocurrency now. Whether or not it'll be successful is one thing. So same thing with the virtual worlds. Anybody can create a virtual world. There's some that were the first and that are the most prominent. Like one that probably, if you've ever heard of them, would be like Sandbox and Decentraland. Those are probably like the two biggest, one of the first ones. So they're pretty big, but they're just virtual worlds where so think about it this way. In the early 90s, brick and mortar, if you had a brick and mortar business, to remain competitive, you had to go online, right? Like that was so this is the next evolution. To remain competitive, you're going to need to have a virtual world presence. So in Decentraland right now, all the fast food restaurants, McDonald's, Wendy's, JP Morgan Chase is the first bank that was in there. Miller Lite, Budweiser, they all have bars there. And you're like, wait a minute, you can't eat there. So what is it? Well, let me tell you how that works. So you're bumping along in this virtual world and all of a sudden you get hungry. So you walk into the McDonald's, you order your food. And as you continue doing whatever you're doing in that world, Uber Eats then brings your real food to your house and rings on your door, and there's your food. And you never had to leave your house. You never even had to leave the Metaverse. So, and you can do it just from your computer, from your phone. You can have an Oculus. You can really enter it. So one movie that I love to have people watch, you'll remember this from last, it's called Ready Player One. Yeah. And Ready Player One was a book, and it's but if you watch it, all that technology is already out. Everything that's in that movie is already out. So, and that is where our world is going, because most of your listeners are probably the top, even if you're just American, even if you're poor in America, you're still one of the top percentage of the world population, the global population. So you have to like put that aside, because we are very privileged where we live and how we live. The majority of the world, though, lives with like maybe dirt floors, maybe tin sheds like over them, basically. And for them, if they could live in any world where they could look however they want, blonde, blue eye, I don't care, six pack, they could look like a tiger, a panda, whatever they wanted to look like, and they could live in any house they wanted to and drive any car they wanted to, where do you think they're going to spend the majority of their time?
Yeah, in that
place. And that's where businesses need to go, because that's where people, and there's people already that are filming themselves, and they spend all day long in the metaverse. They live in the metaverse.
Okay, we can see the pluses and minuses of that. Let's talk about it
Of course.
related to like medicine. So if you're a physician, a surgeon, how is that gonna, you see how that's gonna play into things?
So this is incredible. I saw this first in Syria, this technology popping up there a few years ago. So in Syria, when that crisis broke out, what they did, which was fairly uncharacteristic to war at the time, or up until that, is that they killed all of the doctors first. Because if you're in medicine, you understand that in any casualty, any type of event, be it man-made or human-made, most people don't necessarily die from the event itself. It's from everything that happens afterwards, infections and stuff like that, right? Yeah. It's not the actual event that kills you, it's not getting treatment. So they killed off all the doctors and nurses, and they bombed hospitals and stuff. So, and nobody could get in there. Like we couldn't get troops in there. We couldn't get UN services. Like nobody could get in there. So what we did is we brought technology into them, and anybody that had any type of medical training or didn't have medical training, we could see what they were seeing, and the doctors could show them on their end, and they could put on Oculuses, and they could go 3D and look and put the 3D on the other person and help them and guide them to take care of. So there's so many things that we can do where technology can enhance the human experience. And yes, there's great, tremendous responsibility with all of that we just said, especially the metaverse and all that. And we need to also, be able to elevate ourselves to meet up with technology. Like as technology grows, our minds need to grow consequently, the same time. Yeah. But there's, there's people that, just think about seniors or people that are disabled. They can actually immersively go and walk up the Eiffel Tower and go look at the Piazza in Italy. Like there's all these things that you can go and do and be, things that would be cost prohibitive or physically prohibitive to some people. So there's tremendous beauty and opportunity with this new technology coming about.
Nice. It's a lot to think about. Just go back to cryptocurrencies and cryptocurrency, which everybody is not the blockchain, but an app on the blockchain. Why so many of them? Why have there been so many of them developed? What's the why? Just why?
That's such an easy answer. No, this is the easy answer. That's a good response. But the answer is why there's so many currencies in the world right now.
Because there's somebody that wants something different. Every country wants their own. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Skin philosophy.
Yeah. And they're worth what they're worth. They're worth what somebody's willing to pay for them. Just
exactly like fiat, right?
Exchange. Yes.
Got it. So there's nothing backs fiat. Everybody's like, oh, nothing backs fiat. Everybody's off the gold standard. China and Russia are currently trying to get back on the gold standard, but they're not. So nobody has anything attached to their money right now.
Yeah, right.
So everybody's like, oh, it's fake money. And I'm like, and the dollar is what?
Yeah. It's an awakening for most people to realize that this stuff we have is not money. This is paper that somebody says is money. It's very interesting. So you're doing some stuff with all of this with your company, EverSmart Cities. And
Yes.
I'm a real estate investor, and people are probably wondering, why are you talking about all this stuff with real estate investing? And Sophia's tying these two things together. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so this is like sheer joy, if you can see this, because I get to do my two passions and bring them together in one project: real estate and technology. So a lot of people, it's what's called prop tech, so property technology.
Got it.
So EverSmart, we develop affordable housing. We do it out of shipping containers, and so we solve that 7 million plus lack of housing in the United States alone. That's what we tackle.
Right.
And we do it in a sustainable manner. We power it with renewable energies such as solar. And then we integrate it with blockchain technology. So some of the things that we do to integrate it with blockchain technology is we actually have an asset-backed tokenized system. So our economy will be backed by the assets that we produce in the city, as well as like the real estate that we own. We produce like carbon, we can produce natural gas, we can produce biochar, hydrogen. Like there's things that the city does from recycling and from algae products that we use and different methodologies where we can make products, even carbon fiber, that can then be resold and boost the economy, or mining crypto. So there's all kinds of things that we can do. So there's that, but it focuses on providing the basic human needs: food, water, shelter, and the one that gets forgotten, a financial pathway. So if you just have food, water, shelter, you're surviving.
Right.
You've got to have a financial pathway, or you'll just exist. So we make sure that people, the residents, they are incentivized for positive behavior. We can do that through, like, let's say, the kids want to, after school, they go and give tours of our smart community. And so we drop them a few coins for doing that. So things like that, like positive, or we have a community garden and they go and pull weeds.
Okay.
So like things like that, or they go plant or something like that. So we can just encourage positive behaviors. And we have a digital copy of a digital twin, is what it's called, of our city that we're building before we even break ground, in the metaverse, in a virtual world where the public and residents, future residents, investors, everybody can walk into it and see. It's proof of concept. You can see exactly what we're going to be doing. We have a collaborative workspace. We've got an event center, a community center. There's, all these different places for the public to come and explore.
Mhm.
We intermix it with art and music. So there's a sculpture garden, there's all these different artistry, and the art changes constantly to premiere all the different talented artists that we have all over the world. So it's just like a sneak peek of some of the different technologies that we're using. So typically in a real estate development, the way that it works for investors is that you take a couple years, you raise a few $100 million, then you take about 5 to 7 years to develop. So it's about a 5 to 10 year ROI for investors. But for us, we can start generating revenue like in the first year. And that's flipping. And that's what makes it sustainable, is being able to build these communities and have them closed looped. Like we recycle everything. We produce our own water, and we, do rainwater, we do gray and black water, and we also can produce water from thin air utilizing solar. So there's all these different methodologies where in the US, we don't necessarily need all those, but when we go abroad, which we will be doing that with United Cities, which is the United Nations Smart City arm, their new division, we need to bring the party. We can't rely on the infrastructure. And regardless of where you feel the cause of climate changes, the world is changing, and there are tons of climate refugees already that we're witnessing. So we can drop these communities in and build them very fast because they're out of shipping containers. So we can just drop them and build very quickly and create infrastructures where we have mixed use. So there's storefronts, there's residents. We make sure that with our smart home technology that the seniors can live independently longer and be a part of the city. And help the students after they get out of school, they can go into the maker space and teach the kids how to build things. I mean, that's our most precious commodity right now that's dwindling is our elders, right? Like they're the ones that still know how to do things. And so they can teach the kids, and the kids can then teach them how to FaceTime.
you just said a lot, and I'm sure you touched on so many things that I am interested in and are important to me in this world.
Yeah.
Where can people, there's so many questions I want to ask. You are raising funds for this, yes?
Yeah.
And do people invest in you said it was tokenized, you said token, so let's go back to that. You said that really fast. Explain what tokenized
in the future.
is.
Yeah, that's in the future. So our first phase is, well, first off, we're raising funds. Our first phase will be to get a digital twin in the virtual world so that people can walk through it. And it'll start generating revenue for the, and just have the experience of the concept. Plus we can use NFTs and create a waiting list. So in the legacy world, which is what we call this IRL, in real life, in this world, you do a pre-sale list, right? Yeah. And you get on this list. Well, you can do that with NFTs. So people can buy NFTs and they earn the right for first refusal, right? So the right of refusal of a property. So when we get to the point where we've got the land, the zoning's pushed through, and we can actually pre-sell them, they get first right of refusal, or they can sell their right. Just like you can put a house under contract and sell the contract. Right. So they have the NFT, they have the first right of refusal, or if they want to pass, they can sell that off. Okay. Now tell me where you can make money like that. If you forego and you put money down and you decide, no, I don't want this. It's done. That's done. But this, you can actually generate income. So there's all kinds of ways that we have for people to participate. The first being, though, yes, we are raising funds, and people can go to eversmart.city, and there's a list, and you can get a hold of me. We're all over social media at EverSmart City.
Okay, perfect. That's the next thing I was going to ask is, how do they find you? EverSmart City. It'll be in the show notes if you're walking, feeding the dog, whatever you're doing. We'll have it in the show notes. Check this out. I think we're going to just have Sophia back because you just water hosed me with all the information you gave.
I really do want to talk to your speakers and maybe even get an engagement with them about, and I'd love to even host a webinar, because the medical field is going to be, of course, tackled with technology, one of them being the AI systems. Yeah. Like that whole thing with Watson, when it came and reviewed 100 cancer cases that were already documented and diagnosed. And it took them 44 years combined to diagnose these. And it took the computer system minutes. Yeah. And it was even more accurate in the diagnostics than the doctors. So, the medical field is going to be turned up on its head. And I would really love to just educate people in that space and be there's things that you can use now to start pivoting and encompassing into what your guys' field is, and going in why not hold some of your guys' stuff that you do in a virtual world and start, educating each other there and globally, working. Another thing is how closely veterinarians, I went to this veterinarian conference and I was listening to it and I was like, these are solutions for human challenges, but they're doing it for animals, but it could definitely, I'm not a medical doctor, but I'm like, wow. Yeah. And I started talking with them and they're like, yeah, we often see cases and we're like, oh, if they would have done this, we're like, So just being able to and being able to put things, because a lot of times doctors discover treatments, cures, researchers, right? But they don't publish it because this whole thing about publishing and getting credit the blockchain erases all that. It alleviates you'll get paid, you'll have provenance, nobody can write after you get this. So it's a beautiful world out there, and it's a game changer. Once you realize that blockchain technology was a gift to humanity, second only to the internet, it puts the power back in humanity.
Wow. I think we'll stop there. Power to humanity. Sophia, thank you so much. So much. This was amazing. I think I understand a little bit more. We'll talk more, I'm sure, so I get more and more and more understanding. I'm probably gonna have to just go and do something. The other thing we want to talk about, and we'll come back on this another time, is talking about how to invest in blockchain or crypto, or how are people actually making money there besides how we talked about. Okay. All right. Thank you so much, everybody. I hope you enjoy this episode. This was amazing. Talk to you soon. You listen to Money with Mission podcast because you want to change lives while having your own financial return. You want to make a difference. You are a philanthro investor. The company Philanthro Investors was founded to financially support companies and individuals of goodwill who are making a positive social impact on planet Earth. The vision of Philanthro Investors is a world in which every family can have the opportunity to live in their own happy home, in which every individual can have easy access to organic, natural food, where animals and humans can drink clean water and breathe clean air. A world in which lives are protected from structural damage through innovative construction plans and materials. A world without electrical structures, full of renewable energy. A world without illiteracy, where disease is a distant past. A world where artistic talents are developed, appreciated, and adequately rewarded. You can have true financial freedom with the knowledge, control, and high purpose of philanthro investing and achieve a true legacy. Learn more at moneywithmission.com. Click opportunities, then click philanthro investors.
You've been listening to Money with Mission. There are projects happening right now where you can have a great financial return while positively affecting the lives of others. To learn more about our opportunities, go to moneywithmission.com.